Hi, Pina.
Hi.
Yay! This is great. It looks great.
I think everybody can hear us talking. I'm
Hi.
so excited.
Hi, everybody. We're so happy to have you here with us. Crispina is just getting ready to get started. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone is familiar with this platform in Zoom. If you have any questions, we'd love to have you type them or help you in any way I can. Hi, Jean. I'm glad you hear us. We're about to get started and we're so excited about your participation with us. Crispina is very excited about this. All of her team are excited about this. I just do want to let you know that sometimes Crispina has issues with her Wi-Fi, and I'm sure that's not going to be a problem today, but in case it is, hold on. We will get right back to you, and just stick with us. Where is everybody from this morning? I'm wondering, South Carolina. Yay! I hope everybody's staying healthy and doing well. Hi, Michelle. Massachusetts, I love it. Pittsburgh, Brenda. I wonder if you follow football. What's a tonic? Yay! This is so great to see everybody. I understand, Brenda. You try to ignore football. There's some tough teams over there. But we are about to embark on this wonderful journey together of learning and supporting, and we're so happy to have you here. Each one of you are so important to us, and we want to be there and help you be the best you can be. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them as we go along. You can type them in the chat box. And if you hover in the black area around the screen, you will see to the left a speaker, and then a little box that says chat, and then it says raise hand. And if you click on chat, you will be able to see our chat box. If you raise your hand, you will be, Crispina will see that and will address that right away. We're hoping that everybody, at this point, we're hoping that everybody just try to hold the questions until after the session. There will be time for a question and answer session from Crispina. And if you miss out on being able to get your question in there, or you have any questions or concerns later, you can always just pop a email to hello@crispina.com, and one of us will get back to you. I'm sorry. We're just about to get started. Upstate New York, nice. That's so beautiful up there, Maria. I'm actually in Connecticut and near the Berkshires. I'm right on the border of Connecticut and Massachusetts. I hope everybody has had a chance to join Crispina's YouTube, subscribe to her YouTube page. It is free to subscribe, and it would be wonderful to have you all there. It's a wonderful venue that is good for people that don't always use Facebook. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Crispina's just about to come on board. She's just, hi, Abby. West Hampton Beach, New York. Very, very cool. I'm so glad everybody's from all over. Brenda, you were from Groton, Connecticut. That is a beautiful area. Stanford, so close yet so far, Beth. This is so exciting. We were stationed in the Navy. This is best viewed on Zoom. Are you having problems with that? I'm wondering. I'm gonna send you a little note. Let's see. I haven't done a webinar on Zoom before. You have to download Zoom. I'm just wondering, this is best viewed on Zoom. You should have gotten a link to the webinar. Are you able to see us? Wow. Kent, Connecticut, lives in Lakeville. I'm in Salisbury. That's so cool. Okay, can see you, but no one else. That's right, that's working correctly. Yes, you're just seeing the welcome screen. That is correct. Everybody, what you're seeing is the welcome screen. In 1 minute, Crispina will begin with us and you will see her. And this is getting exciting. Okay, we're coming
Hello,
on.
everybody.
Merci.
Can you guys hear me? All right, I'm so excited. Yay! Welcome to my Stitch Along live webinar. I am so happy that you're here. And Carolyn, thanks for holding down the fort for me, getting started. So Carolyn's helping me out this morning, and like she said, I live in a really rural area where the internet connectivity is a little questionable sometimes. So I'm just going to take a quick second and do a little housekeeping. I'm going to move Carolyn over to a way, let's see, I'm going to make it possible. So if my internet does go down, she'll be able to hold the meeting where it is, and I will be able to log back in. So I think, did I just do that, Carolyn? Yeah.
Yes, you did.
You're all set. Okay, cool. All right, great. So let's get started. It's so fun to see how people came from all over the country, the world, and welcome. Thank you so much for spending your Thursday morning here with me. And I wanted to talk to you about my Stitch Along. So, okay, I'm a little excited. So I'm a little like, I got some butterflies going on, ladies. All right, so I want to start, before we get started with the hands-on stuff, I want to take a couple minutes and just explain to you some super cool things about creative recycling using textiles and used clothing. So back in the day, back in 1989, when I got started with my business, it was a way for me to make money and pay my bills. And over the years, I realized that there was a lot more to it than just doing that. And in the last probably like 12 or 18 months, I've really been researching the kind of the benefits of recycling, of being creative, and of working in service with others or to others. And I've come to realize that there's a lot of really great self-care that comes out of the work I do. Little did I know back in the day that I would be surrounded with this amazing group of people who are delving into the creative aspect of things. And I just wanted to share with you those benefits. So, okay, creativity. It's actually been scientifically proven many times that being creative and using the right side of your brain actually imparts a level of self-confidence that's not really found in other ways. So self-confidence spills out into all aspects of your life. It's not just within your making practice that's important. It also abolishes fear, anxiety, and reduces stress. It actually builds and boosts your immune system. So like these are the things that we're all struggling with right now in the light of this pandemic lifestyle that we're kind of becoming accustomed to. So that's just creativity. Okay, now we're going to look at the recycled aspect of what we're doing today. And recycling carries a lot of those same things, right? So like it allows for a sense of accountability, responsibility, being really aware and conscious of your consumption habits and making sure that you're paying attention to what you use and how you use it, right? So those things also help and build your confidence and your self-worth. So, oh my gosh, there we go. There's two things. And then the third thing is like working in collaboration with others, builds connection, builds, sorry, I'm so excited. There's all sorts of good things that come with working in collaboration with others. And it builds, obviously, connection, and it makes you more confident. So those are the things that we're working on today. And when you work in service of others, like the project that we're working on today, it's called the Stitch Along, and this is first of all, it's my very first webinar, and it's also my very first Stitch Along, and I'm really looking forward to using these two ideas and platforms to really build upon what we've started. So the Stitch Along is a collaborative project that we'll talk more about as we get going. And it's designed to support women in need. Okay, so like the idea of supporting women in need helps us feel a sense of compassion, and it adds a layer of meaning and connectivity to each other and to the assistance that we're going to provide to people who don't, or who are like the most vulnerable among us. So with all of those things in mind, let's get started with the hands-on part. And just think about those things as we're going forward, because these are the things like in light of this, I'm calling it our new pandemic lifestyle. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I live in this really rural place. And seriously, the last time I was in town, I actually went grocery shopping last weekend. And prior to that, I hadn't been in town since March 31st. So I had not been off my little dirt road other than to the post office for over a month. I don't think I've ever done that before in my life. Even as a child, I think that there was more interaction with people. So I think we're all missing the connection, and I think there's a level of fear and anxiety in our culture that's kind of getting a little buried as we go forward. And we can't just let that happen. We need to address it, and we need to really nurture ourselves and take especially good care of ourselves, because there's a lot of people around us who rely on us for support, and we can't support people if we don't support ourselves first. So that's what this is all about. And part of supporting ourselves is remembering to have a lot of fun, right? Like laugh, engage, have fun, connect. Like those are the things that I'm missing. And actually I have to say, I would be missing if it weren't for all of you. So thank you for being here with me. I'm super excited to rock this Stitch Along webinar. So I did a little beta test a couple weeks ago, and I want to thank anyone who's here who attended that webinar, because I kind of flubbed it up, ladies. It was fun, but it was like, oh my gosh, what am I actually doing? So I got a lot of feedback from you guys, and it was like, give me some hands-on stuff. I don't want to hear about your, la-di-la-di-la about how, I'm going to fix the world and feel better. I want to make stuff. So we're making stuff today. So, okay, the Stitch Along is a project that I came up with kind of as a response to the Scrapbox Challenge. And I think that I know there's a bunch of people that are here today that were a part or are a part or did participate in the Scrapbox Challenge. And if anybody out there is going, what the heck's the Scrapbox Challenge? It was a really great collaborative project that involved 60 contestants and over 2,000 voters, okay? Like, oh my gosh. And I can't even tell you, like, still to this day, I get the most amazing, kind, thoughtful, oh my gosh, appreciated emails from people who were so affected by that, right? And I get a lot of questions like, what's next? It's over, and how can we stay connected? So the Stitch Along is what I came up with to answer that question. And if you're interested in learning more about the Scrapbox Challenge, you can go to my blog after this is over. It's crispina.com/blog. And there's a whole bunch of posts with all kinds of features about the different contestants who finished the challenge and submitted their work for voting. And there was a grand prize winner, and everybody who did it, in my opinion, was a grand prize winner because they were just so awesome. The creativity was like really kind of astounding. So I hear a lot from people that they love to make, they love to be creative, they love to, make sweaters, knit, crochet, sew, whatever it is. And a lot of times they're not really sure how to share their work with people in need. So I thought, okay, let's put that together. We want to create a collaboration that is fun and supports the most vulnerable among us, like I was saying earlier. So the Stitch Along came about, and the Stitch Along is made up of okay, so we're gonna make blankets, and they're made out of squares that look like this. Can you guys see that? So this is all recycled fabrics. The background piece is cut from an old wool blanket. The appliques are cashmere, t-shirt, wool, silk, and then there's a bunch of fancy embroidery stitches, and there's like the center flower on the square is a vintage applique. They're all different. I did a couple samples up. So you can go as crazy as you like with the embroidery, and the appliques are all included in the kits. So what I'm gonna do today is teach you the stitches involved with making a Stitch Along square. And then if you're interested in participating in the collaborative project, we'll talk more about that later. So you got, whoops, hold on, let me remove my Post-it note. The kit looks like this, and inside the kit is everything you need to make your square. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna find yourself with a square of wool, and the first stitch we're gonna go over today is called the blanket stitch, and that kind of protects, and let me show you this one again. Do you see how there's a stitch around the edge? That protects the edge from raveling. So today, when I sent out the lists of materials for you guys to bring with you today, I said embroidery floss. You can use yarn, you can use whatever you have that's for sewing. I mean, you can even use a couple, thread together a few strands of just regular sewing thread. That'll work fine too. But if you're really into this and you want to go farther with it, embroidery floss is fun because it comes in all kinds of cool colors, and it's also super, it's readily available. I actually sell little packs of it that look like this in my little online shop, and they come in kind of pallets. Right now we have the spring 2020 palette available. Beginning next month we'll have the summer palette. And the thing about embroidery floss that is most kind of difficult, if you will, is it comes in these little skeins, right? And they're just like a cluster. Like they turn into this if you're not careful, or actually they turn into like big knots of stuff. So there's a little trick that I just want to show you that usually works pretty well, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just like, oh my God, you wind up with a cluster of thread, regardless of whether or not you're trying to be careful. So there's an end, and you kind of pull the end, and you just want to pull straight, okay? Okay, there. So then you're going to snip it. I usually start with working. One of the things that's really helpful about sewing by hand is when you're cutting your thread, you don't want to cut it so long that you have to pull it through more than once, because that's when it starts to get tangled. And you know, it depends on how tall you are, is how long your arms are, and what's comfortable. Some people have mobility issues with their arms, so you don't want to have it be an uncomfortable thing. You can start new threads as often as you need to. Okay, so for this particular stitch, we're going to divide the 6 strands of the embroidery floss in half. So what I did is I just took 3 and 3, and I make like a Y, poke my finger in the middle there, and pull down. So then sometimes you have to just kind of mess with it a little bit like that. Okay, cool. So then you wind up with 2 pieces that are usable. And one of my tricks that I love to do for this works great for embroidery floss, not so great for wool or any other fuzzy, or like if you're using like a alpaca wool, even acrylic is not the best, but if you're using a smooth fiber, either cotton, silk, rayon, something like that for stitching, this is beeswax. These are little beeswax cakes, and you just hold the thread against it with your thumb like that and pull. So you have, I usually coat it 3 times per the thread, and then I'm going to actually put that blue aside because I planned ahead and I threaded up some needles, so I don't have to try to do that without my glasses on. Okay, so then you're going to thread your needle. This isn't I call these embroidery needles. These and also the beeswax cakes are available in my shop, so if you're looking for those, you can get them that way. And I also do know that Joanne Fabrics is open. Go figure. I don't know how they figured they were essential, but apparently they are. And maybe they just know that they're essential to me. So you just make a simple little knot. You know, I don't know if you shot what I just did, but I think most people attending are good with knots. Carolyn is watching the comments. So the 6 threads are all in one. When you pull out your thread out of the embroidery floss pack, this has got 6 ends to it. So you can divide those into groups. I usually go 3 and 3, or else I use it the full 6 threads, depending on the stitch that I'm using. But you can also, if you have questions that involve more of an answer than that, pop them in there. Or you know what you can do is like raise your hand, and then at the end we'll go through, like we'll have a question and answer series, okay, or time or whatever. Okay, so here's your square, and you're going to start by poking your needle through the corner. And I don't know, is that a quarter? Probably like a ½ an inch or 3/8 of an inch from either corner. Do you see how it's going through there? Okay. So you're going to pull it through, and your knot will be, we'll just designate that as the back of the square. Okay, so now to get started, it's a little funny, and I don't know, this stitch is also used for old school buttonholes. So if you're familiar with making buttonholes by hand, you're familiar with this stitch. So when you do it on the edge of a piece of blanket, it's called a blanket stitch, and when you use it for a buttonhole, they call it a buttonhole stitch. So I'm going to go back in right next to where I came out, okay? And I'm going to make sure that this thread is up over the edge, okay? So I'm going to kind of drape it over the back like that. And then I'm going to wrap it around that. So do you see how that is? That's the trickiest part about this whole stitch. So you got it wrapped right like that. So it's going to hold that the end of your floss right on the edge of the blanket or the fabric. Okay. So then you can start working this way. Okay, so there's my next stitch. Okay, and pull it through. Now, I want to say something right now, because I have taught hundreds of people how to sew. And one thing I hear a lot is like, my stitches aren't as even as yours. Let me just tell you, I have a PhD in the blanket stitch. So if your stitches aren't even, celebrate it. Imperfection is the new perfect. It's like, everybody wants that. People want to see that someone human made what they're looking at. You can get perfect out of a machine all day long, but imperfect is what people are actually really hungry for today. So uneven stitches are beautiful. Okay, so now we're gonna do it again, another stitch, and I'm just gonna do a few stitches so you can kind of get the hang of how this works. And are you guys actually doing this with me right now? Just throw a comment in there and let me know if you're actually, yes! Oh my gosh, this is so cool. So is it working? Are you guys doing it? Are you getting it? Can I tell you how much fun I'm having right now, you guys? This is just the best. I love it. First of all, I love to teach. And the idea of being able to teach people without having to get them to like fly across the country or go anywhere, just like you're in your house with your stuff and doing your life. And this is the best. I'm so excited. So, okay. And did you guys know that this webinar is full to capacity? Like we can't get another person in here. So thank you. I'm gonna have to do another one, I think, and get the people who didn't get here on time to not be left out in the cold. Okay, so there's your blanket stitch. So you're just gonna keep on going right over to the corner, okay? When you get to the corner, I'm gonna show you something. You're gonna secure your corner. Do you see, wait, let me show you that side. Do you see how I have the two stitches, on the side right here next to each other? That's how I secured my corner to start the next side, okay? So it's just kind of like where you start, you finish your edge, then you start the next side the same way so that you have a nice clean corner and you don't have any kind of like weird, you know, if you kind of try to stitch the actual pointed corner of your fabric, sometimes you wind up kind of denting it, if you will, and then you kind of lose that nice kind of crispness. One of the things I have to tell you about recycling fabric is that when you're sewing it, it's such a primitive technique, and like it's so handmade looking that where you can build in like finish and fineness, it really adds to it and it really brings it up to a level of kind of beauty. So I try to do that with my work. Okay. So that's your blanket stitch, otherwise known. Yes, I can certainly show it one more time, Debbie. Debbie, where are you from, girl? I want to know. If she holds it still for a little longer than one normally would, that'll help too, the fuzziness. Okay, yeah, okay, thanks for that, you guys. I forget that it's the connectivity that's an issue. Okay, so here we go, okay. Going through here, okay, poking it through. My thread's connected to the very top edge. Can you see that? I'm gonna hold it. Wait, hold on. I'm just gonna pull that thread in the front so you can see it. Okay, there. Okay, now I'm gonna pull this through. And that beeswax really helps the tangling issue. You see? I'm gonna do another one. See if I can get that in the front. One thing I'm really not used to is sewing in reverse, because that's what I'm doing right now with the camera. So roll with me, would you, ladies and gentlemen? I don't know, maybe there's some gentlemen with us today too. So see that? And you want to kind of pull it a little snug. You don't want it to pucker, but you want it to be this thread across the top. You don't want it to be like loops. You want it to be kind of flush with the surface. Okay, how does that look? Somebody tell me if you got that. I can do more stitches if you need. Thank you for sewing in reverse for us. It might be a good brain exercise. I think it is. You're confused about the corner. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to move on, and while we're going, okay, good, Debbie got it. I'm going to try to get to the corner while we're chatting. Okay, a few more stitches. I'm going to keep going. So one thing I want to be mindful about, you ladies, is I don't want to spend too much of your time on one stitch because there's so much fun to have here today. This is actually the toughest stitch, so it's going to be, it's going to take a little time. And yeah, the corners are a little bit tricky. Okay, so there, I'm gonna go a little quicker, just so we can, you can sort of see the rhythm of it. I have a feeling that this is a really good brain exercise. It's like, you know, I think I have a little slight touch of dyslexia to start with, so It's really challenging, but as so far, so good, right? Are you guys getting that? Okay, cool. Okay, so the person who had a question, okay, I'm gonna do another couple stitches really close up here, and I'm gonna try to get that thread to go on the front. Okay, so, wait, hold on. Okay, thread over like that. Do you see that, how that is? And then pull it snug. It's funny, as you pull it snug, you might have just seen that happen. Your last couple stitches kind of snug up at the same time. So don't worry if like the last stitch you just did is a little like bubbly across the top, because it kind of snugs up as you go too. See how that is? Okay, cool. Okay, so the person who had the question about the corner, I'm going to try to address that before we're done today, but I want to move on to the next stitch so we don't spend too much time on one. So the next stitch, I have a little page of notes here so I don't forget. Okay, so one of the things that I really enjoy about the idea of using recycled materials is that you can layer lots of different things together, right? So here, like I was saying, this is a vintage applique. Then this layer here with the polka dots is made out of a piece of t-shirt. This is wool sweater. And then you can see I did a lot of, excuse me, decorative embroidery around the edge here. This right here is a little piece of silk with a little vintage button on it. So all of those pieces, I have not like folded the edge under. That kind of thing is really great when you're like a quilter or you have like a lot more patience than I do. You know, steam irons and like getting close to my fingers, I'm not into that. So I'm into like putting it down and making it secure and moving on to the next thing and enjoying it. What I want to show you now is how to do the applique stitch that allows you to use a raw edge without folding it under. Before I jump into that, I just want to check the chat. My square is 7 by 7 inches. Yeah, and you can just use the whatever size square you want. I happen to like the 7 by 7s. So Sandra said it might be easier to see you demonstrate if your hands were down. That is definitely true. My situation is this: I live in this ridiculously rural. Oh, it's not ridiculous. I love where I live, but I have ridiculous service, so I can't like I can't move my camera and talk to you and then have more than one camera, because my bandwidth does not work that way. It just kicks you right out of Zoom. So I'm doing the best I can without the actual hands down visual of how I would normally do this. So thanks for rolling with me on that. Normally what I do is I actually make videos where I shoot the video and then I upload it and I edit it and then I download it onto whatever platform, if it's YouTube or Facebook or whatever. And I'm able to use like my library where there's a better signal. So that is the reason why everything's a little kind of nervous and jerky, but not to worry, because we're awesome and we're going to figure this out. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is the applique stitch. So here I have the, hold on one second. Here I have a square with the appliques that I'm going to stitch down pinned to it. So I'm going to start with this little circle because I feel like that is going to give us time to actually finish the whole applique. And it's also the silk, the knitted fabrics, the hearts that are cut out of sweaters. They really don't ravel much, but the silk, the little circle there at the top, tends to be a much more unstable, if you will, fabric, where the edges do tend to fray and ravel if you don't take care of them right away. So we're going to start again, same thing. We have a threaded needle. There's 3 strands of the embroidery floss, a simple knot on one end. And we're going to start with our knot. We're just going to pull the knot between the layer of the silk fabric and the wool. So I'm just gonna get that started there. See how that is? Okay. So you can go ahead, take a minute and cut yourself out a piece of fabric that's in the shape that you want to applique. And while you're doing that, maybe I'll take a look at the chat and see, give you guys a minute or two to see. Yeah, done is definitely better than perfect. So we are actually going through a bunch of different colors, so don't worry too much if you're having trouble seeing that particular color. We will definitely be moving on to other, and I tried to pick high contrast colors for all the stitches that we're working on. Yeah, so we're going to try to make a PDF and send it out to you with the stitches that I'm going over today. So you'll have those to look at. It'll be more of like a drawn, image, so that you'll be able to actually like see it. It won't be, the recording of the Zoom of the webinar will be as you see it right now. It won't. The quality will not improve because it's recorded. So it's just a little. We're rolling with it. Okay. Are you doubling 3 strands to make 6 strands through the needle? I am not doubling the 3 strands. I'm just sticking 3 strands through the needle, and I am using just the 3 strands for these 2 stitches. Just require the 3. Okay, so then we're going to get to stitches in a little bit that do use us the 6 strands. Okay, so let's get back to the applique stitch. Is everybody ready to rock and roll with their shapes cut out and pinned in place? Okay, let's see. Am I getting yeses on that? Am I going too quick, or is everybody okay? The squares I'm using are made out of an old blankets. I collect old wool blankets that are damaged in parts, and I just make them into the squares for these. Okay, cool. So you guys are ready to roll. Great, moving on. This next stitch, I call this stitch a ladder stitch, and I really don't know what it's actually called, but it's kind of like a whip stitch, but I like to have the stitches. Let me show you. This is the one we're doing right now. The stitch is the one that goes around the circle, okay? So do you see how it's in the circle, it's hard to see it, but if you do it in a straight line, they're like rungs. They're like parallel lines that kind of go next to each other. Rather than at an angle. I kind of like how they come perpendicular to the cut edge. Although whatever you choose is the way you should do it. So I've got my thread pulled through, my knots in between the 2 layers, okay? And I'm gonna put my needle in right next to the cut edge. So I'm coming straight from the place it came out of the silk, right down over the cut edge of the silk into the fabric of the background, okay? So then I'm gonna come back up just a short distance away, okay? And then I'm just gonna pull that through. Can you see this one? There, okay? So I'm going to take a couple stitches and just show you again how it is. And you know what? Let me see. Let me see. Hold on one second. I think I have. Yeah, here's a higher contrast one. Do you see how that looks about around the button here? So that's the stitch we're doing, okay? And you can see the stitch size is not all that even. There's a few small, a few big, and it kind of looks cool, right? Okay, so we're just gonna stitch right around the edge. If you're doing something that's not circular, you're just gonna do the same thing. You're just gonna, instead of going around a circular edge, you're gonna go around maybe a square or rectangular edge, or if it's an odd shaped edge, it doesn't matter. You can just roll with it, okay? If you have corners, one thing I like to do with corners is kind of square off the edge. So if this, do you see how that is like, if this was a ladder stitch, I would just do the same thing where I would have that corner nice and crisp with a stitch on either side of it. Okay, and obviously this is the blanket stitch on the edge of the fabric, but if I was stitching this down using the ladder stitch, it would go into another fabric that would be so behind it. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna continue around the circle. How's everybody doing? Okay. Sure, on the back, it looks like, hold on, I have a chat box in the middle here, so I'm gonna make sure you can see it. Do you see the back? It's like a whip stitch on the back. Okay, and I'll show you, see if it's easier to see. So this one has, can you see, the back has like this long stitch that goes into the button that's in the center. Okay. Is that helpful? And actually, this is kind of cool to see the whole back, right? Like all the different stitches have different things going on the back, okay? And then the most important thing about doing this kind of work is the blankets that I make are one-sided. It's not like a quilt where there's a top and a bottom with batting in between. Because they're wool, you really don't need to do that. So all your knots and such need to be well secured because they are exposed. So we're actually gonna touch upon that when we get to the other side of this purple circle here. I'm just gonna whip through this so you guys can be working on yours and I'll be working on mine. And I'll try to show you as much as I can as I go here. So there we go. See where I'm up here. Is that good? There, yeah, there's the light that you need. Yes, the knot is sandwiched in between the top and the bottom layers, and that speaks to what I just said about having the backs of the blankets. You want to have those knots really well hidden and secured so that you're not going to run across little loose ends poking out after the blanket's been used a bit, right? So that's kind of an important aspect of what we're doing. Plus, I really like the back of the work. So you can, it's kind of cool, right? Like everybody's stitches are different and the way everybody finishes things. So you guys, I don't know, there's a little historical story about the Crispina, and it's funny, my business and my first name are the same, and it sounds sort of weird because sometimes I talk about Crispina like it's not me, but my business, Crispina, back in the day from 1989 until 2003, I ran a production company and I had 40 employees, and we made product that's pretty similar to what I continue to make and teach. And we supplied over 350 stores all over the world. And so during that time, I had a bunch of women who sewed for me at home, and I could tell who made what. It was really cool. They all had their own sort of signature little, if they finished with a certain type of knot or they made their corners in a certain type of way, I would be able to really identify the maker. And actually, I could identify the maker, but other people couldn't. So then that kind of started me thinking about that, because my business was called Crispina Designs Incorporated, and people thought I made everything myself, and I had 40 employees. So like, I don't know, like all I do is sew in the basement 24/7. But so I started having my employees put their names on their finished work. So that is actually part of the stitch along, is that everybody involved will have the opportunity to mark their work with their name. Okay, so we're all the way around. See, that's what the stitch looks like on the back. Here it is on the front. I'm gonna take that pin out. Okay, and then we're actually gonna do the button stitch with the same yarn, so we don't have two knots. And that's part of that is so that we can make sure that we don't have we won't run into the possibility of two knots coming undone and getting loose. And when it's that close, when you're talking about like a ½ an inch or less of distance, it's fine. If you were going, you wouldn't want to make like a float, if you will. If you're a knitter, you'll know what that means. You don't want to have a long stretch of thread on the back that might get caught on something, but if it's like a ½ an inch or less, it's okay. So now we're going to stick the needle right into the center of that circle, flip it over, okay, and then we're going to take, hold on one second, I'm going to find a little button here, we're going to take this little tiny button, and this is not obvious. I shouldn't say obvious. Sometimes people really don't know how to sew buttons on. So we're going to put that down, and we're going to kind of center it to where we want it on the circle. Okay. So, and then you're just going to go through the other side with your needle. Okay. Pull it right through. And you're going to stitch it in place. I usually go 2 or 3 times, depending on, like if it's on a garment that's going to get a lot of stress and pull, you want to do it more. If it's just a decorative button like this one will be, it's just 2 or 3 times is fine. Okay, so there we go. There's 3. Okay. So now we're going to end the thread. Okay, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to do this so you can see. And it requires 2 hands. So I feel like one of those felt boards, you know? Oh, except I should have worn my Velcro suit today. Okay. Did you guys ever see that? David Letterman with the Velcro suit? Freaking hysterical. Okay. So actually, this is what you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pin it. Okay. So here's this, right? We're going to take the thread and we're going to hold it up like this, straight from the thing. And we're going to wrap your needle around it. So you're making like a knot, and you're going to pull it so that it's right down next to the surface of the fabric. And then you're going to pull that through. So right now I have a knot right next to the surface of my fabric. Let me show you. Can you see it? Okay. Now I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to stick I'm going to go between the layer of purple on the outside and the wool surface on the back. And I'm just going to take a stitch so that I can hide that knot. That it's not really the knot. I'm going to hide the tail of the knot. So it's not going to be flapping around with the ability to become loose and then let that knot go and have the button come off. Okay, so I stitched it through about 1/2 inch and I'm just going to snip it off. And there you go. Okay. Cool, right? How's everybody doing? Everybody doing okay? Can you repeat the knot? Sure, I'd be happy to. I'm going to actually do it on a piece of scrap fabric and see if I can make it a little bit higher, more visible for you. See what I got here. I got this. I'll do it on this little heart piece and then you'll be able to see it. Okay, so here's below. Oh, you know what? Let me see. I'm going to try this below. Okay, so this is the first piece that I did the blanket stitch on, and I'm just going to make a knot so that you guys can see it with a high contrast. Okay, so I'm going to pull my fabric. Nope, it's not fabric, it's thread. I'm going to pull my embroidery floss through, and you know what? Let me just back up for 1 second. I'm going to find a higher contrast because I'm seeing that it's a little tricky to differentiate the floss from the background fabric. Okay, here we go. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to pull that through. And what I'm doing is I'm holding this straight, and then I'm just taking the needle and I'm actually looping it around the thread. Okay, and then pulling that through. So then I have this, there's a little fuzzball there. See how that is right there? Okay, and then what I'm going to do is kind of tug on it so that it comes right down to the surface. Put my finger on it like you're wrapping presents, and then tug it, and you have a knot. Does that make sense? It's something that it looks really easy, but if you just need to practice it a bunch, okay? And then what you can do, what I do, like if I was finishing something that I stitched on this, I would take, and this fabric is, you know, it's thick. So I can put my end kind of between the front and back layers of the fabric, and it's not showing on either side. You see how that is? So I'm going to just pull that needle through. I don't know, it's like 1/2 inch. Okay. And you can see it a little bit, but if this was a knot, that would be the back side of the fabric. So it's fine. And then you're going to just snip it, and you can snip it right next to the surface because you've got your knot over here, and that's your end. And it's really secure. Okay, definitely. It's funny. Sometimes like the things that look the easiest take the most practice to really kind of get the hang of, and you just have to keep trying. And the PDF is a great idea. I have some drawings that I did in my teaching book. I don't know if anybody has it. It's actually out of print right now. It's called The Sweater Chop Shop, and it's a great reference tool for this kind of stuff. But I will pull some stuff out of that and make you a little PDF and send it out to everybody who came today, so you'll have it to refer to. It's going to take me a little bit. Like, it won't come out today. I think it'll probably be Monday before you'll see it in your inbox, but you will see it. Okay, so that is your applique. You can use that applique stitch for any shape. It does not have to be round. You can use it for, I use it for this entire thing, with the exception of the leaves, the hearts, the circle here, both hearts. So the way I did this piece is I put the big heart down first, I put the small heart on top of that, and then I stitched this vintage applique on top. Okay. You can use it for a lot of different things. It's a great stitch. It's something like, really, I use it for a lot of stuff. If anybody's familiar with the sweaters I make, that stitch and a really simple running stitch are like all you need to know. And the blanket stitch, the one we started with, is something that's really great for like woven fabrics where they tend to unravel more. Whereas with when I make blankets that I sell, I don't use that to secure the edges, because knit fabrics that are felted don't really unravel. Okay, I can go more into that later if people have questions about knits versus wovens. Okay, we're getting there, Okay, so now we're going to talk about the leaf stitch. And I have 2 leaf stitches that I'm just totally in love with right now. So do you see how the appliques like this here have this applique stitch? And then there's this leaf here and this one here. I think, let me just check. Yeah, those 2 are embroidered. There's no fabric under those stitches. This one and over here, these have a little leaf-shaped piece of fabric that are stitched down and secured with this cool leaf stitch that I kind of made up. So we're going to go over those 2 next. All right, so here we go. Here's another. This is the one we're working on, and I'm hoping, how's everybody doing? If you guys want to take a minute, I'm going to check the chat again, take a minute, and why don't you cut yourself out. This particular stitch works really well on leaf-shaped pieces of applique. So if you're making something right along with me, cut yourself a little leaf-shaped piece, like, well, something like that, okay? Doesn't matter what kind of fabric. Yeah, so I think that the leaf, I'm sure, you know what, it's pretty hard to invent anything for the first time these days, right? People have been around for such a long time, but I came up with this stitch for one of the kits that I sell, and I just really fell in love with it. Plus, I just really love the botanical, imagery. So, awesome. You just ordered the book. That's awesome. Where did you find it? I hope that, if you could probably find it used on like Amazon. They do have it at our library. Okay, so let's get started. Are you guys ready? Should I wait another minute? I don't want to go too quick. You're ready. Okay, cool. We're ready. Okay, so the first one we're going to start with is actually, we're going to stitch. Let me move this chat box so I can see you guys. Okay, we're going to start with one that's an applique. Okay, so you're going to start with a piece of embroidery floss that is maybe 1.5 yards in length. Let me make sure I've got the right length available right here. Yes, I do. Okay, so here we go. Okay, I'm going to tie that knot again. So here we go. This is the end knot that you're going to start with. So did you see me? I lick my finger. When I teach in person, I like joke with people, don't spit on your thread because I'm not touching it. But I'm in my little safe Private Idaho over here, so I'm gonna spit right on my thread. So I do that. It's more just to dampen it, right? So you're gonna dampen your finger, you're gonna wrap it around one time, okay? There's a tiny little overlap, okay? Can you see that? Okay, then I'm just gonna roll it and pull it, and you wind up with this cool little knot, okay? And this one, it's another one of those things, like the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. And you know, I'm a little fastidious about this sort of stuff. So I make sure that it's like right at the end and I don't have this tail sticking out, because again, those tails, right, they can come undone. So now that we have that, and we're going to secure this knot again between layers of fabric. So I'm going to just, let's see, do that right here like that. Let me see if I can push that pin that way. Okay. So do you see how it is? It's just, and it's going to wind up in between those two layers. So I'm going to pull it so that it does. Okay. Okay, there it is. Okay, now the first stitch is going to come, I'm going to come down to the point of the leaf shape and back up to pretty much where my stitch started. Do you see how that is? Okay. So, and that's just going to kind of secure the point, and it's going to also give me kind of like that beginning of the ridge that runs down the middle of a leaf. Okie dokie. So where I live in the woods, there's a lot of beech trees, and beech trees hold their leaves all winter. It's kind of cool. So in the springtime, they turn this kind of pretty, really like lemon yellow, not like a bright yellow like maple trees in the fall, but like this beautiful kind of almost ethereal. It's almost like, they almost look like paper. And so right now, there's like this green just starting to come through, and these beautiful little like papery, lemony yellow leaves scattered throughout the forest. So there's my first stitch. Let me just move that for a second. Do you see it? Okay, I'm gonna stick this pin back in this way. Okay, so there we go. Now, the first stitch we're gonna take, hold on one second, I just have to fiddle with this for a minute and get that point. I like it when the point of the leaf is actually really secured, because, you know, there's some, I'm a little anal about some stuff. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start way up here, like I'm gonna say a third of the way up my leaf. I'm gonna put the needle in, not in the leaf, but in the fabric right next to the leaf, okay? And then I'm gonna come out right next to where I started, okay? Okay. Now, like that blanket stitch that we started with, the placement of your thread is important. So you want to have your thread placed like this so that your needle is going to create a loop. Okay, I'm going to pull it through and show you what I mean. Whoops, except for I'm pulling on the pin. Okay, so there's your first stitch. Now I'm going to make another stitch. I'm going to actually do a couple stitches with you real slow here. So this was a little tricky to get the hang of, but once you get it, it's like you can just go to town. Okay, so what we're doing right now is we're working up one side. We're going to go up one side and then back down the other. Okay, that's kind of the way that I've created this. So that is where my needle is. Okay, and I'm going to pull it through. Okay, and then it looks funny when you pull it through like that, but then when you go to take your next stitch, hold on a second, it kind of pulls it into place. Do you see how that is? Are you guys able to see this okay? All right. I think I'm seeing a lot. Oh, Tina is lost. Girl, don't worry about it, okay? Don't worry about being lost. This is not, you're not getting graded. This is just for fun. And I just want to remind everybody that if this is not meant to be stressful. And if I was, that's the one thing about teaching in person, is that if I was with you, I could actually like show you on your own fabric. So don't worry about, you know, if you're stressed about this particular stitch, this stitch is tricky. So maybe just practice the ladder stitch that we just did, that stitched down the purple circle, okay? And when you get your PDF in the mail, you can see it more easily. So this is my stitch, this is where I'm going, okay? I'm gonna pull it through, and there it is, okay. Okay, maybe a monster size leaf. It's not really a whip stitch. Let me show you what it is. And I'm learning a lot just right now. Okay, so this is what it looks like. And this is a higher contrast color. So this is the stitch that we're making. And it's a stitch that I kind of devised on my own. I call it a leaf stitch because that's what it looks like to me. So the back of that stitch looks like the purple strip thread right here. So it's sort of like a whip stitch, but you're catching the middle to make that ridge go down the middle, okay? And I'm going to just continue on with this up the middle, and then we can talk about it if you guys have questions. And I'm sorry, somebody suggested doing black and white. That's a great idea, except for it would take a lot of time for me to put that together, and I don't want to leave you hanging while I'm trying to rummage around finding different materials. But for future stuff, I think that's a great idea, just especially for the teaching aspect of things, because it's not like Tina was getting frustrated, so I don't want you guys to get frustrated. I want you to have fun. And I think that, you know, one of the things I tell people in my classes when I'm teaching in person is that I definitely learn just as much as I'm teaching. So all your input will certainly be, it's super valuable to me, so thank you. Okay, so when I get to the top of the leaf, I pulled my pin out so you can see a little better. So the top stitch just goes right over the top point of the leaf, okay? And I'm just gonna pull that through, there, okay? And then we're gonna work back down the other side. So now, I just have to look at this for a minute. Okay. I'm gonna point my needle from the back side and through the fabric, and I'm gonna come out in that Y that's created by those last two stitches. Okay, so then I'm gonna pull it through and then just create my next stitch. I'm gonna go toward the top of the leaf this time and come back out by the next one. Okay, how's everybody doing? Are people, is this too much? Are we doing, okay. Whoa, messages, this is very clever stitch. Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, I think it is a fishbone stitch. So I'm so glad you find this interesting. Thank you. Okay, cool. Marcy, you like seeing the finished. Okay, this is awesome. I'm so good. Yeah, you know, I'm not sure, Rory, I see your question and it is tricky, and I'm so sorry about the quality of image. And I'm not sure if you were here to start, but I live in a really rural area in Massachusetts, and honestly, my connectivity, you'd think I lived in some less developed country, because it's crazy. Like that, we have the highest, great, like we have a dish, we pay extra to have, you know, high speed, crappy internet. And it's just, they've been promising us for 4 years that we're going to get broadband. So maybe one day before hell freezes over, we will actually get broadband, which would be super awesome. Okay, so then I'm just going to show you how it looks when you start stitching back down toward your stem, if you will. So those are my first couple stitches, okay? And I'm just gonna put my needle in. The biggest kind of surprise about the stitches, you want to really take a very angled stitches. So I'm going in way up here and coming out way down here. Do you see how that is? Is the camera able to focus that close? It's hard for me to tell. Yeah, okay, cool. So you can see that. Awesome. Okay. So, and then when you pull it through, there is how it looks. See it? Awesome. So we're just going to follow it along. So every time, every place that you had a stitch going toward the point of the leaf, you're going to have another stitch coming back on the other side to match it. Okay. And initially I was thinking like, you got to do the leaves with leaf colored thread. Well, I kind of really like, you know, when I started branching out and using colors that were more not sort of, you know, purple, for instance, I mean, not green. I really like how it works together. It gives it a little bit more of a pop. Okay, so there you go. There's your leaf. See how it is? Now I have to tell you that the finished leaves over here, this piece has been ironed with a steam iron, so it kind of gives it like a real nice finish. So that's the difference, but you can see those leaves there, okay? Okay, cool. So you guys, it's getting close to noon. I can't even believe it, that we have to keep moving. So I think that there's one more stitch that I want to show you, but before I do that, I want to just show you that one knot again that we did before. So here's my thread coming out of the back of my fabric. I'm going to take it, make a loop around. So my needle's going through a loop like that. I'm going to pull it and I'm going to just kind of mess with that so that it comes right down to the surface of the fabric. Okay. Then I'm going to put my finger there and pull the excess thread. It's getting hooked on the fabric edge there. Come on, there we go. Pull that way. Okay, and then I'm going to stick my knot end in between. So it's actually behind the fabric that we just stitched down. So there's no chance of it, you know, being visible from the front side. Okay, and then we're just going to snip that extra bit off right close to the surface. And there's our leaf. Okay. Okay, cool. So are you guys in the mood for doing another leaf stitch, or do you think we should just do it on the PDF? Oh, I'm glad you love the stitch. I am recording this and we are gonna send out a recording. So you'll get this as a recording. Okay, cool. So when I hold it up on the camera, it works. That's cool. Okay, cool. Okay, so PDF. Okay, so I'm gonna do the next the leaf stitch that I had anticipated teaching you guys today. I'm gonna put that in the PDF, and we're just gonna keep moving because we've got other stuff to do. So this whole stitch along, right? The squares that we're making today are all about this really cool collaborative project that I'm putting together, and I'm hoping that you will join me. So we talked about how used clothing, did we talk about, no, I don't think we did we? We're gonna go over it again. So used clothing, recycled clothing, and using discarded textiles in your making process has so much meaning, right? So you can go, like, when I buy materials, and actually I haven't bought materials in the last couple of months because of the pandemic, but when you are sourcing material to use, you might want to go in your closet. You might want to ask family members or friends if they have materials that they're discarding so that you can use them. And one of the things that happens when you do that is that you remember, oh, this was my daughter's, you know, jumper when she was a little kid, and isn't it cool that now it's part of a blanket that I made? And or maybe your grandfather passed away and you want to use some of his clothing to make something that's really meaningful to you that will give it a second life, and also you know, have, you know, when you use that item, whatever it might be, it brings memories of his love back to you. The other thing is that you oftentimes find much better quality materials than you would in a new store setting. And, you're reducing energy by not having to have new materials made or generated, and it reduces the things that go to the landfill. Did you know that like 80% of the textiles that are discarded in the United States are not recycled? Like they're not brought to like the Salvation Army or the thrift store, but they're actually thrown in the landfill. So anything that you can do to diminish that number is going to be a real beneficial help to our forward path as a species. So we did talk about the self-care aspects of creating with being creative to start with. Okay, it really increases your self-confidence and your self-worth and adds meaning to your life, and it also really reduces anxiety, fear, and reduces stress. And it's actually been scientifically proven that if you're creative, it actually boosts your immune system. I am always so surprised by all the benefits involved. So since you're here at this webinar, you're either interested in learning a few stitches, hanging out with this awesome group of makers, and having fun for an hour or two, or you're looking for a path to bring fun, connection, and confidence into your life while giving fear, anxiety, and stress a kick in the pants. So I have two things that I'd like to offer you today that are going to enable you to do both of those things. So the first we've talked about a little bit, and that's the Stitch Along blanket. The way that it works is that you can purchase a kit to make one of these squares from my shop, and there'll be a link in the chat, and at the end I'll have a slide up that has the web address of where to go to buy these. We will have Stitch Along Zoom circles so that we will meet up together as a group, everybody who's participating, and go through the process of making the project together. So it won't be like, oh, one of those things that you've got to get to, but it'll be like, oh my gosh, today's my Stitch Along day. I get to hang out with lots of cool people. That setting we'll be able to see each other. So So the Stitch Along, that is going to happen. So the Stitch Along kits will be ready to ship out middle of next week. The Stitch Along circles will happen between the end of next week and the end of the month, so that the blanket will get made by middle of June. And the blanket that we make with the square, so you guys make the square, you send it back to me, I make a blanket, I sell the blanket online with all the proceeds of that blanket going to support the women's shelter for those who are survivors of domestic violence. We make more than one blanket. We support more than one women's shelter. So our local women's shelter, the Elizabeth Freeman House, is really excited about this project, and they're really supportive and looking forward to helping us promote the sale of the blanket. The other thing that I have that I haven't even touched upon yet is Circle, which is my membership organization, and it's a really great way to take the idea of self-care with creativity and make a real commitment to yourself. So it's a monthly membership. It's live Zoom creative stitching circles once a week with me, where I do question and answers, I teach new projects, I teach new techniques, and it's a really great active community of like-minded, awesome people hanging out together, where there's a private Facebook community. It's really active. It's gentle accountability to make sure that you're taking that. If it's just 1 hour a week, that's all I mean, the science is there, right? It's scientifically proven that in a single hour a week, I'm talking about, like, think of it as yoga for your right brain. You know, we're not able to get out to yoga classes, right? Like, we're kind of cooped up, and this is a way that we can really nurture ourselves by being connected to people who are like-minded and interested in the same things that we are. So there's the weekly upcycling tutorials and question and answers with me live. There's the gentle accountability. There's inspired fun. Each month I'll introduce a new project that I'm working on to help inspire you. Not like you've got to make this project, but like, hey, this is a new technique or a new thing that I'm making that might inspire you to make something of your own. And so whether you're a professional textile artist, or if you're just a really committed hobbyist, or maybe you're brand new to this and you just really are looking for a way to nurture yourself with a new form of creativity this is the right place. You found it, man. We're here, yay! So the Stitch Along will introduce you, and Circle will continue that connection. And there's a lot of like fun and hijinks involved. And if, you know, like I was saying earlier to, I think it was Tina, who was struggling and having trouble, like, it's okay, reach out. Like we can, we are here to support each other and to really help find not the stress, but the joy in the process. So all of this stuff is, the registration is open today, and because there's, you know, it's time sensitive. We want to get the project made. We want to support the Elizabeth Freeman Center, and we want to have the accomplishment and the level of just gratitude that, it's not really gratitude, I'm looking for the right word, the level of like connectivity and I'll think of the word, just to like get it done, accomplishment. We want this level of accomplishment to really feel like, wow, we could do this as a group and connect with each other. So the registration's open today. It opens just right now with this webinar. It closes at 9 p.m. on Sunday evening. So if you're interested in participating, check the chat. I think Carolyn's gonna post up the link to the place you can buy. And somebody said, this is the thing, okay, you guys, somebody, is it John, posted lots of domestic violence going on as people are stuck at home more. This is a very close to my heart situation. So you're so right. Like, it's really an issue. Like, my girlfriend works at the Elizabeth Freeman Center, and she is like, they're kind of inundated. So now is even more important than, it's always important, but now we can step up. We can do this. We can step up together as a group and show support and love for people who need that more than some of us can imagine. Do your blankets or squares together? Can you visualize the finished project? Can you show us? The finished project will be a blanket of all of the squares stitched together. And the reason why we're blanket stitching the edges, because what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go through and zigzag stitch on the sewing machine all of these together, so it'll be like one big beautiful blanket. The other thing that I forgot to tell you guys is that each blanket will have a label on the back with the maker and their location. So did you ever see that on like antique quilts, how the people who actually quilt the quilts, you know, do the little tiny stitches to hold the layers together? Oftentimes will put like their initials or their location or their name and location to signify that they participated in that. And it's a really nice way to like learn history. And it's also a really nice way to imbue your gratitude and your care and your support into this blanket. So yeah, Stitch Along kits are $47, and that includes everything that you need, along with what we talked about, the sessions to actually get the project completed. There's even a return envelope with a label already paid for in the kit for you. And the Circle memberships are $4.97 for 12 months. And there's different payment options available. You'll see those when you go to the link. So if you are ready to see possibility where you might not have seen options in the past, if you're ready to literally turn the garbage in your life into treasure, now is the time to commit to the self-care you need to reduce fear and stress, let anxiety melt away, build self-worth and confidence, and allow yourself a weekly dose of fun. This is the way to do it. Follow the link in the chat or on the next slide. I'll put a slide up with the link to get yourself signed up to Stitch Along and join my circle. You will not regret it. I guarantee it. As far as the circle goes, if at any point you're not satisfied with what you've signed up for, you can unsubscribe. You will get your money refunded within the first 30 days if it's not for you. But it's really an investment. It's an investment in our future, and it's an investment in you. So thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I really appreciate it. I so look forward to hanging out with you again in the future. And there will be a recording of this that I will send out to you guys, as well as that PDF that will more clearly explain and show the stitches that we went over today, as well as the embroidered lace stitch that we didn't have time to get to. So thank you very much. And now I'm going to take some questions, and I think, check this out. I'm going to try to make somebody, okay, Pam, you have your hand up, right? I'm going to try this out. I'm going to allow you, see if I can get you to speak out loud. Hold on a second. Allowed to talk. Okay, Pam, what's your question? Oh, wait, hold on. I think I have to unmute you. Hold on. Okay, yeah, what? There you are. Hi. Where are you
Hi.
from, Pam?
I'm from Long Island, New York, originally Massachusetts. I'm originally
Right
from
on.
Wenham, Mass. I just put a comment that I'm a sewer and I appreciate what you're doing, but I really think you could have a stronger contrasting thread that would help everybody.
Yeah, thank you. I think you're right. I think that would really help a lot. Yeah, thanks for that input. Yeah.
And maybe for demonstration purposes, use more, use all 6 threads just for demonstration.
To show, so it's easier to see. I get that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really helpful.
Was a little hard to see. I'm just, that's just a comment, but I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for allowing me to participate.
Sure. Thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate your time. And thanks for that helpful input. I'll definitely consider that in the future and see how we can make it work a little bit more easily for everybody out there. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, who else has their hand up? Joe, let's see. I'm going to try to allow you to talk. And are you muted? Can you say, what's your question? Oh, wait, hold on. You're muted. Hold on. Okay. Hold on. Unmute. Are you able to unmute yourself, Joe? I'm sorry. For some reason, my unmute button's not really doing it. Huh. Let's see. Carolyn, can you unmute? Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. Maybe
Joe,
I'll
can you
come
hear
back
us?
to you, see if we can figure that out.
I think we got Joe.
Can you hear Joe? Huh. Let's see. Maybe we'll make sure that we have the that link posted up for folks who need it. And let's see. I'm going to try figuring out the unmute thing. Let me see if I can find a way. Carolyn, can you post that link up? And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to see. Hold on one second. Let's see if I can do this. There's the. Okay. Whoop, that's not the right one. Stop that one. And we're gonna try something else here. Hold on. This one. It's just showing me the same slide, oddly enough. Let's just see. Okay, so let me go back to Joe. Let's see if we can figure that out. I'm sorry, you guys. It's taking a little longer than I imagined it would. Pam, I'm going to put your hand down. Lower your hand, and maybe that'll help with Joe. Joe, talking is permitted. Let's see what's up with this unmute button here. Huh. For some reason, that's not working. Okay. Malia, I'm going to try. Do you have a question, my dear? Let's see. I'm going to allow you to talk. And I'm going to unmute.
Hi, Christina.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. So I was wondering, when you use your beeswax cake, I love to use pearl embroidery DMC cotton, and wondered if you use it for the pearl cotton also, which is different than your typical 6-strand embroidery floss.
Yeah, it works really well for kind of any type of cotton. It doesn't work well for like a fuzzier type of like a wool or any kind of animal product hair. It wouldn't, or yarn, it really wouldn't work that well with. But for the cottons, silks, rayons, absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so let's see, who else has a question here? I'm just posting up There's a link down there in the chat for anybody who's interested in joining us. I'm gonna disable Malia. I should have asked you how to pronounce your name because I always mess it up, I feel like. Joe, for some reason, I don't know why, I'm sorry, I can't really hear you and it's not allowing me to unmute you. Jennifer, how about your question? Let's allow you to talk and then I'm gonna unmute. Give me 1 second here. I'm gonna unmute you. Okay, Jennifer, what's your question, my dear?
Can we use our own supplies for the square for the women's shelter?
No, I'm sorry, you can't. It's really well curated and it's made with a quality of fabric that is pretty particular.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for your interest. Okay, how about Jillian? Let's see if I can unmute you.
Can you hear me?
I can. What? Oh wait, hold on. Now I can't. Hold on 1 second. I think I pushed the button twice. Okay, what's your question, Jillian?
I don't have a question. I just have a comment.
Okay.
I just want to say you are such a treasure, and you're such a treasure to Berkshire County, and your whole outlook and your positivity and your availability, and I just want to thank you for who you are.
Oh. Wow, thank you so much, Jillian. So sweet. Thank you. I'm really flattered. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I hope that you join me. I'm so excited about this project. I'm really looking forward to making it super awesome.
I definitely will.
Awesome.
My daughter works with these women down in Torrington, and so I want to support the effort everywhere.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it's so important. So important. Awesome. Okay, cool. Let's see if we have any more questions here. Hold on 1 second. Thank you from Jane too. You guys are just the sweetest. So the link that is to the shop is posted at the bottom here. The order now link is for purchasing. And you can go there to get the kits as well as sign on to the Circle membership. And both things are available to you guys until the Sunday evening at 9 p.m. So I'm really looking forward. There's a bunch of bonuses that I forgot to even tell you about, which bonus, I don't know, I'm not really a hard sell, but if you sign on to Circle, you get 25% off of your Stitch Along kit. And also, if you sign on to Circle, you get to have a welcome packet, which is a pretty awesome group of little, just welcoming cool things. Like there's a screen print that I designed for you, and it comes to you in the snail mail. So it's kind of a nice little tangible way of knowing that you are actually part of my circle. So I'm really looking forward to welcoming a new group of members to that and introducing the people who have been working on it for a while with me. So thank you so much again. I'm going to see if I can post a slide here. Hold on just one moment and see if I can figure out how to get this. There we go. Let's try that out. I'm going to see if I can get this to come right up on your screen. Is there anybody else with questions? I don't see. Oh, Jillian, I'm going to put your hand down. Thank you so much for that sweet comment. That really, it just makes my day. You're the best. Okay, and then Joe, I'm going to go back to you. I'm not sure if I can. I'm going to try this one more time, and I'm going to try unmute. Oh, what do you got, Joe? Oh, wait, hold on.
Can you hear me?
Are you there still?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yay!
Well, you're nothing.
It worked.
Persistent. I appreciate your persistence. Actually,
I appreciate your patience. Are you kidding?
I think that I had a comment earlier, probably having to do with, was I going to be animated in this and looking at other people? So I guess I didn't understand the technology. So having said that, I moved on and said, oh, this is where we are. So I'm looking at you and I'm listening. And I have to say, I think I took upon your attitude of just enjoy the process. Don't be frustrated with it. And I have a very happy little mess in front of me. And I was here to have joy and fun. And I think that's what I accomplished. And in my happy little mess, I'm sure it doesn't look anything like yours, but I'm not unhappy with it. So it's fun.
Oh, I'm so glad. That's so lovely. That's exactly what it's all about. If it's a happy little mess, you did it right.
I know.
Thank you so much.
I think that was your instruction. Make a happy little mess. and excellent. I did hear words of, I have standards of excellence. So I heard that too. But within that, there's joy in my happy little mess. So anyway, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. I'm so glad you were here today, and I look forward to connecting with you more in the future.
Okie doke. Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much, everybody. I look forward to connecting with you more in the future, and I look forward to welcoming all of you to my next projects.